Seizi was cast out by his party, labeled a burden with no combat strength. Later that night, he found comfort in the arms of a cat-eared girl, their closeness offering warmth neither had known before. As dawn approached, she whispered his name with affection, sealing their bond in intimacy and trust. She offered him a choice, a new beginning by her side. Reaching toward a mysterious figure of light, Seri accepted the hand extended to him. In a divine realm, Seri stood before a celestial being presented with options for his future. He was reborn into a noble household, welcomed with smiles and celebration. Years passed, and Se grew into a charming young man admired at social gatherings. With joy, he selected the carrier class, his heart filled with pride for his choice. Elsewhere, a masked servant plotted in secret, determined to erase the disgrace of a lowly role within a noble bloodline. Laughter echoed as the divine being remarked on Seni's unusual job choice. No one had ever willingly selected carrier before. A blessing was given for his new life, while someone dear to him stirred, sensing his absence. With quiet resolve, Seppi prepared for departure, apologizing in silence. Se vowed to grow stronger, hoping one day to return as a worthy man for Nina. Along a peaceful trail, a knight questioned his lack of weapons. When asked, Sei confirmed he was a carrier, showing his tag with calm confidence despite traveling alone. The knight explained the route was safe from monsters, but warned of the threat posed by bandits. With a watchful eye, the knight subtly prepared for trouble, hand drifting toward his weapon. Although suspicious, they let Seti pass, puzzled by his calm demeanor. Behind their laughter, doubts lingered. Perhaps this lone traveler wasn't as harmless as he appeared. Knights sneered at Se, dismissing his role as worthless. They viewed carriers as baggage haulers, weak, slow, and irrelevant in a fight. Though carriers possessed the storage skill, it was feared, often linked to covert acts and barred from high-security areas. In society's eyes, their class stood at the bottom, ridiculed and ignored. Yet Se pressed on, standing alone before a distant town, determined to prove his path held purpose. Se arrived at a lively town where travelers and merchants bustled through the streets. Nearby, a group of men approached a young woman, offering her help with suspicious grins. She hesitated, uncertain, as their intentions grew more obvious. With a trusting smile, she thanked someone kindly and asked for guidance, unaware of the danger lurking. The shady men led her away, chuckling as they disappeared down the alley. As Sadie walked past, he overheard people noting the girl's noble mannerisms and carelessness. He assumed she came from a fallen aristocratic family, but decided it wasn't his concern. Later, he found her collapsed and unconscious, signs of struggle faintly visible. Meanwhile, the town bustled, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. In a distant alley, a woman lured her into a secluded house, her words coated in false kindness. Inside a cramped room, rough men block the doorway and close in, trapping their target with no clear way out. He is seized from both sides, hands pinning her arms as she stays tense and alert. They shove her down and try to restrain her completely, while others crowd around and watch. She fights back hard, landing a blow that staggers one attacker, but more grab her to regain control. As the situation turns worse, someone suddenly lunges forward, rushing in to stop them. Se storms into the room, startling the group as his glare lands on the stunned captors holding a hostage. One of the assailants grabs a man and threatens him, but Se strikes. A muscular leader steps forward, raising his hands and trying to diffuse the tension through manipulation and mockery. He feigns remorse, blaming his subordinates while offering to negotiate, though Se's expression remains cold and unyielding. Mocking Se's resolve, the leader laughs at one captive's fear. A sudden explosion erupts, blood splattering across the room, as Se takes decisive action with cold precision. One of the attackers lies in ruins, while a beast-like foe mocks, Sadie warning him not to challenge strength blindly. Unfazed, Seti gently lifts the unconscious girl into his arms, shielding her from further harm. Asked if he's her protector, Se calmly denies importance, brushing off the enemy's confusion. He reveals the truth: not a knight, but a simple adventurer, his job carrier. Seiki stood calm as his role was mocked, labeled the weakest. 4 elite adventurers stepped forward, prepared to teach him a lesson. One threatened him with a blade, underestimating his silent resolve. The world worshipped combat classes, and Seiki, a carrier, was seen as disposable. Yet Se, confident and composed, warned them they were about to lose to someone they called trash. With a smug grin, Se mocked their strength, calling them lesser than trash. A swift move disarmed the swordsman, leaving him panicked and confused. Reacting quickly, the rest rushed in, surrounding Se in coordinated assault. Surprise flickered in the beast fighter's eyes as Se struck from behind. Before the assassin could act, she found herself blinded, unable to follow C's movements. Chains flew, but Sadie's kick landed first, sending the attacker crashing back. As another enemy lunged, Sadie twisted midair, barely dodging the strike without hesitation. He slammed the warrior's face into the ground before turning away. A massive projectile followed, crashing into the wall as Sadie skillfully evaded it, amid the chaos. His strategy became clear. He'd turned the tidy room into his hidden weapon cache. Crouched in thought, Sadie listened to doubts cast on his ability as a mere carrier. The warrior, now at level 30, charged with overwhelming confidence and brute force. Suddenly, sacks of flour burst forward, blinding the man mid-attack. In the haze, Sadie calmly stated he had no intention of running. This was his trap. Revealing the building's fire-resistant design, he explained how he'd sealed it for a reason. Sadie walked through the flames, coldly warning what fire magic would trigger in the sealed room. Among the smoke, he spotted a girl kneeling, shaken but unharmed. Relieved, Lunamria introduced herself, a young monk grateful for his rescue. Without warmth, Sadie reminded her not to place trust in strangers so easily. As the crowd approached, he turned away, leaving her behind with a quiet farewell. A lively tavern. A dancer captivated the crowd with bold movements and charm. From his corner, Sadie watched quietly, half-focused as the music played on. His thoughts returned to Lunamria. He had been right. She bore a noble surname. Recognizing her sheltered upbringing, he decided it was safer to stay uninvolved. Even as she offered help freely, Sadie declined, keeping his distance with quiet resolve. Lunamria explained her situation, hoping for free lodging during her monastic journey. The innkeeper reluctantly offered a shared room, prompting mixed reactions from nearby patrons. Without hesitation, Sepai stepped in, placing money down to secure her a private space. He told her it was nothing, just repayment for the life once saved by a priest. Before leaving, Sadie shared his name, and Lunamria gratefully introduced herself with a smile. Lunamria once again pleaded for food, using her monastic status, earning mixed reactions. Lecherous men surrounded her with false kindness, clearly driven by ill intent. Noticing the situation, Sechi calmly interrupted and invited her to dine with him instead. With a bright smile, Lunamria gladly accepted, addressing him with newfound admiration. As their meal began, a familiar dancer approached, casually asking if Seti was working. Seisi casually mentioned his travel plans to Lothos, prompting a curious response. Lunamria, full of energy, revealed her goal to explore the labyrinth as part of her pilgrimage. He confirmed their shared destination, subtly intrigued by her determination. While enjoying their meal, he admitted he also sought work in Lothos. She smiled, calling it divine guidance, while he muttered about companionship and kindness on the road. With a hopeful expression, Lunamria asked Sei if he would travel with her. Sezi accepted her request with a quiet nod, hiding any surprise behind his usual calm. Though she worried about being a burden, he dismissed her concerns and told her to relax. Her smile grew brighter as she called him a serious person, softening the moment. Together, they enjoyed the evening meal, laughing, sharing stories, and unknowingly taking their first steps as companions. After a light-hearted farewell, Sei and Lunamria parted for the night beneath a quiet moon. Inside, Sei prepared for his evening routine, laying out the essentials. He heated water with magic and sighed in relief as he began washing. While cleansing his body, he practiced control, refining both his storage and magic abilities, even in exhaustion. Seiri trained relentlessly, embracing the harsh reality of the weakest job. Seisi, a carrier with abnormal stamina recovery, struggled to control his urges during the night. A knock on his door interrupted him. A dancer named Mania entered, offering company for the night with a knowing smile. She teased him, noting his glances and mistaking him for a more prestigious adventurer. Confident in her skills, Mania proposed intimacy in exchange for payment. Prepared and composed, Sei calmly declared the real experience was just beginning. Sassi took full control, carefully avoiding her most sensitive areas, while maintaining intense pressure. Outside, the quiet town lay beneath distant mountains, unaware of the intense night behind closed doors. Morning arrived. He greeted the sunrise, while she lay drained, half awake on the bed. Smirking, he mocked her disappointment, hinting he wasn't done yet. In a bustling town, a young woman joined a traveler preparing to depart with a horse-drawn carriage. Inside the shared carriage, they sat beside other passengers, heading toward the capital city, Myram, through Lincor territory. Their journey stretched through open fields and rising mountain paths under a calm sky. Grateful, the woman thanked her companion for covering the fare. At last, the capital came into view beyond the forest, marking the nearing end of their ride. Inside the carriage, Seti lowered his hood, while Lunamria glanced at him with curiosity and concern. They stopped at a rest area where Seye admitted he had been hiding his face to avoid someone from the Amberius territory. He questioned Lunamiria's monastic journey, curious about what it truly meant. She explained that monks travel to aid others and fight monsters along the way. Their goal, she added, was to advance their role from monk to priest. Lunamria described her dream to follow the story of the saint, a journey of faith and purpose guided by God. Sei listened as she explained it was a beloved biography she had read many times. The saint traveled the world, aiding the poor and battling threats with her companions. Lunamria noted that few now took monastic journeys, as nobles preferred safer, guarded paths. Coming from a poor countryside, she couldn't afford bodyguards but chose her path regardless. Lunamria asked about Segi's goal, imagining he might want to save the world like a hero. Se calmly replied that he was simply a carrier. He explained that unlike heroes, he had no desire to shoulder others' hopes or responsibilities. Gazing at the open world, he spoke of how important freedom truly is. He didn't chase power or strength. Seizi's only wish was to live freely and explore the world without limits. They arrived in a lively town, walking side by side as they enjoyed the bustling streets. By the river, Lunamria stepped into the shallow water, playfully splashing around while Sei watched from the shore. She suddenly embraced him from the front, smiling innocently. The moment caught him off guard. Embarrassed, Sadie turned away, trying to compose himself while Lunamria followed behind cheerfully. Elsewhere, unfamiliar women observed them, their expressions playful but with unknown intentions. Lunamria smiled confidently as Seti followed her lead through the town, both enjoying the peaceful walk. Their journey continued by carriage through bustling roads and quiet countryside toward their next destination. As they entered a market area, Seri remarked that they were getting close to Lothos. She asked if he had visited before, but he claimed to sense it from the air. Nearby, groups of adventurers exchanged cautious looks, tension quietly brewing between them. Sei explained that keen observation is key, recognizing adventurers aspiring to reach bronze rank by their aura. Even without formal training, strong presence was something anyone could sense, himself included. Among the crowd were two confident female adventurers, ones who had ridden the same shared carriage earlier. Back inside, Lunamria asked about them, curious if they were truly strong. Sei calmly noted their well-equipped gear, hinting at experience behind their appearance. While traveling by carriage, Lunamria expressed her eagerness to learn, and Sei mentioned he still needed to sharpen his observations. They soon arrived at an inn marked by a hanging sign, ready for a short break. Inside, adventurers enjoyed food and drinks. One woman praised the refreshment with enthusiasm. At their table, Sei reminded Lunamria about the importance of caution and awareness. Though she trusted the coachman, Seti emphasized preparedness as a key adventurer trait. Conversations nearby warned of dishonest coachmen and careless travelers, too trusting of strangers, rather than follow the norm. Sie explained how his role as a carrier made him an exception. Items stored in his space couldn't be retrieved by anyone else. He stressed the brutal truth even lives could be taken for mere coins. Wary of the world, he jokingly revealed his masked persona might hide darker intentions. Lunamria responded with teasing sarcasm, clearly amused by his mock-serious tone. Sei sighed to himself, realizing Lunamria had grown up without encountering true malice. Her sheltered kindness, while admirable, posed a real danger in the harsh world beyond. Nearby, a thief spotted the unattended carriage and casually approached under the guise of innocence. Without hesitation, he grabbed the luggage and dashed off, as others shouted in alarm. Hearing the commotion, Sei glanced up mid-meal, calmly reacting to the unfolding trouble. A masked thief sprinted through the plaza, clutching a stolen briefcase. Observing her distress, Seti saw a chance to teach her caution. She had trusted others too easily, leaving important items unattended. Tears welled in Lunamilia's eyes. Seli looked at her silently, making a quiet decision. He told her to wait, then turned swiftly. With sharp focus, he dashed out the window, chasing the thief through the city streets. The thief darted toward a narrow alley, hoping to shake his pursuer. From above, Seizi gauged the distance, wary of falling too far behind. His sharp eyes caught a sudden shift. Someone unexpected made a move, swift, precise, and silent. Zafi, a level 12 assassin, revealed herself. Without hesitation, she flung a concealed weapon. A sharp cry tore through the street as the thief stumbled, caught off guard. With deadly accuracy, she struck again, forcing the man to collapse. Clutching the briefcase, the thief staggered to his feet, unwilling to surrender. From the crowd emerged a new figure, calm yet commanding, staff in hand. She warned those in her path. Without warning, A powerful gust spiraled outward, lifting the thief violently into the air. Her voice cold, she blamed him for interrupting her peaceful afternoon. Scarlet Adrenard, a level 17 magician, unleashed her wrath, sending the thief flying, with a blast that echoed down the street. The thief screamed in pain, barely holding on to the briefcase as the magical pressure tore at him. Despite the force, he managed to scramble away. While Sei observed the spell's finesse, its precision spared the surroundings, but reduced its impact. Spectators were shocked as the man kept running, leaving Scarlet unimpressed by his resilience. Sei, unfazed, prepared to end the chase with a confident grin. He vanished with a flash step, reappearing ahead to intercept the fleeing thief. Crouched above, Sei took aim with a tool in hand, calmly tracking the thief's frantic rooftop dash. As the target approached a ledge, he finally realized danger loomed close behind. A smirk spread across Seiki's face as he closed the gap and whispered a warning not to underestimate a carrier. With a blinding strike, his knee drove forward, ending the pursuit in a single blow. The thief was sent flying, body tumbling through the air as Sei landed effortlessly, unshaken. Sei stood over the collapsed thief, voice low and ominous, warning that their game had ended unless he wished to die. Cornered and trembling, the thief clutched the briefcase as Sei demanded its return. Suddenly the thief hurled the case and revealed sharpened picks hidden in his hand. He opened a hidden compartment, quickly assembling a strange mechanism with alarming speed. With a mad laugh he bolted again, taunting as he made yet another escape attempt. With the thief pinned beneath his boot, Sei sighed, declaring the chase finally over. He glanced down at the briefcase, irritated. Turning in the culprit would be more hassle than it was worth. At least Lunamria's belongings were recovered, he thought, lifting the case casually. The lid suddenly flipped open, startling nearby onlookers and leaving them blushing in shock. Eyes wide, Sadie stared in silence, unsure what he'd just exposed. A tense moment unfolds as Ceci bursts into the room, startling the group of women. Everyone turns toward him. Ceci's eyes scan the crowd until they lock onto the girl he's been watching cautiously. She clutches her stomach, confused and tense. Ceci steps closer, his focus unwavering as tension builds. The girl processes something, her mind racing. Sei watches her, both uncertain. Suddenly, a nun appears behind him. Her calm expression contrasts the unease surrounding them. Sei pauses as a sudden shout from the girl startles him. She realizes something is missing: her briefcase. His expression shifts between tension and false calm. Panic takes over. Both of them scream in distress, overwhelmed by the confusion and pressure of the moment. Her legs tremble, barely supporting her. The emotional strain has clearly taken a toll. From a distance, observers react nervously. Sei remains still, gripping the briefcase. As tension lingers, with a sigh of relief, Sei laughs as he holds up the recovered briefcase. Nearby onlookers react with surprise. He reflects on the close call. Had it gone missing, his reputation would have been ruined. The surrounding crowd listens, stunned. They now understand how valuable the item truly is. Sei notices the coachman nearby and hurries over, asking if he's injured. Ignoring protests, Sei insists on using magic, causing panic instead of comfort. As the wagons roll on, the coachman shouts in fear, demanding space from Sei after the earlier encounter. Inside the carriage, Sei sits silently among a group of mercenaries, his expression blank and unreadable. The convoy continues along a winding path beside the river, wheels clattering against the road. One of the women suddenly requests a stop, claiming she wants to pick flowers nearby. She replies with quiet confidence, assuring she can handle herself. The coachman calls for a break, reminding everyone to stay alert for monsters, while he halts the caravan. One woman stretches beside the wagon, while another figure steps away toward the river. Sei senses danger nearby and offers to investigate. But the woman dismisses the concern confidently. Recognizing the flow of her magic, Sei realizes she's already scanning the area with magical awareness. Without hesitation, she snaps at him coldly, calling him a pervert, leaving him quietly annoyed. Sei stands beside the girl, sensing she has something to say. Her eyes avoid his, hesitant but focused. Shifting nervously, she struggles to form her words, glancing up at him while fidgeting in place. Her sudden, blunt question catches Seiki completely off guard. He tries to remain calm, correcting her misunderstanding. She interprets his clarification as a personal confession and responds nonchalantly. Sei firmly sets boundaries, stating his preference and asking her to maintain distance going forward. A loud scream interrupts Sei and the girl, both snapping to attention at the unexpected sound. Drawing his sword, Sei explains that rivers attract monsters. He races off without hesitation. As he dashes ahead, His instincts warn him the silence is unnatural. Something stronger lurks nearby. Branches crack violently as something large moves through the forest toward the path. Sei lands sharply. In the shadows, a monstrous predator emerges, jaws wide and ready to strike. He stands face to face with a massive insect-like monster, blade drawn and gaze unwavering. A system window identifies the threat rank 25 great white-legged red head. The enemy is formidable, nearby. The mage girl loses balance, falling awkwardly as she readies her staff. Sei glances back calmly. Suddenly, a powerful stream of liquid shoots toward the beast, launched as a makeshift attack. With a sigh, Sei prepares to counter. He mutters under his breath, unimpressed but ready to strike. Sei relaxes after the fight, amused. The girl yells, embarrassed by what he had clearly witnessed. A monstrous centipede towers over the battlefield, its sheer size alone enough to intimidate. Sei calmly observes the creature, analyzing its movements and intent. With swift resolve, he infuses his weapon with magic power, preparing for the first strike. The beast roars as a glowing projectile bursts toward it. A deafening crash follows as the monster lunges, triggering a violent clash with Sepsti's force. Realizing the danger too late, Seppi braces himself as the situation escalates. The beast charges forward, forcing him to retreat while the girl watches from cover. With jaws wide open, the monster lets out a deafening roar that shakes the trees. He quickly weighs his options: lure it away or regroup with allies for a counterattack. Meanwhile, the girl prepares to strike, blade drawn and resolve clear in her eyes. The girl launches through the air, heading straight for the monster's towering form. Amid the chaos, Sei shouts a warning, doubting her weapon's reach against such a beast. With determination, she faces the threat, only to misjudge her distance at the last moment. Just in time, Sei intercepts her fall, carrying her to safety as the monster chases. Behind cover, he checks on her, relieved she is unharmed, despite the close call. The girl groans in pain as Sei confirms the monster has ceased pursuit. Inspecting the wound, he identifies traces of poison, and prepares a temporary aid. Help arrives just in time as Lunamria appears, ready to use her healing magic. While they recover, questions arise about how such a threat went unnoticed. Sei reflects on the creature's traits, realizing it was built for stealth and ambush. He reacts instantly as the monster erupts from beneath, shielding the girl in his arms. The creature's massive form crashes upward, scattering debris as it prepares for its next attack, landing safely. He tightens his grip, narrowly avoiding disaster as Lunamria calls out. But danger shifts. Lunamria becomes the beast's new target, forcing a sudden warning. Without hesitation, she readies her weapon, standing firm as the enemy closes in. Lunamria grips her glowing bat tightly, power surging as she prepares to strike. Charging forward, she intercepts the monster, determined to protect Sei from its advance. Momentum builds as she swings, while Sei shifts into position, watching intently. Together, they close in. Her swing creates an opening, and he moves in without hesitation. Steel meets flesh in a direct hit, forcing the monster to recoil with a roar. A glance at the weapon reveals its red iron core, glowing with concentrated magic. Despite the monster's burrowing strength, its shell shatters under her empowered strike. Grinning, he admits defeat in flashiness and promises to take the spotlight next. Suddenly, Earth erupts. An ambush erupts with brutal force, catching them off guard. Clinging to the tree, Lunamria watches the beast rise again, pain etched across her face. Lunamria recoils in shock as the beast, battered but breathing, stirs once more. Whispers of desperation slip from her lips, clinging to prayer as a last resort. Sei leaps forward, sensing danger building beneath the Earth's surface. Claws rupture the ground around him, movement precise and unrelenting. In one fluid motion, he draws his blade, slicing through the rushing force before it strikes. A powerful slash cuts through the land as the dust settles around his stance. He steps back calmly, fingers poised with quiet confidence. Lunamria watches in awe, her heart racing with realization. Silently, he turns away, the battle behind him, leaving her speechless in his wake. A young girl reads about a saint's journey, imagining a life of healing and hardship. Inspired, she dreams of facing trials in a world beyond the page. Suddenly, colossal beasts rise from the earth, threatening her life. A lone figure stands between her and danger. Sei confronts the creatures with calm precision, shielding the girl from harm. He turns and reassures her with a gentle smile. Before relief settles, the monsters rise again, still alive. Seti turns sharply as the ground trembled beneath him. The girl beside him startled by the sudden shock. A blinding explosion erupted in front of them, filling the air with fire and smoke as the threat was obliterated. Moments later, another girl approached, triumphant and grinning, clearly the one behind the blast. They resumed their journey, a wagon waiting to carry them forward. Elsewhere, adventurers celebrated their victory over the last remaining beasts. The healer's magic glowed softly as she restored the injured girl's strength, easing their pain with a gentle spell. Hearing Ciri's name sparked curiosity in the warrior girl, her gaze sharpening with interest. Nearby, adventurers discussed the monster threat, realizing the creatures were larvae of a more dangerous breed. Some debated the risks, wondering how things would have turned out if a true hero had been present. Meanwhile, the healer quietly prepared her tools, focused and composed. Sei calmly cleaned the monster's remains, unfazed as he worked alone with practiced ease. From the creature's body, he extracted a glowing magic stone, verifying its grade, and adding it to his inventory. He assessed its value and utility, knowing it could serve as both profit and potion material. Accusations followed, but Sei deflected them with a blank expression and practiced denial. As they walked off, the girl warned him to keep quiet or face consequences. A teasing remark about Seki's disinterest in women caught the group off guard, stirring light embarrassment. The others quickly defended Seti, reminding everyone of his bravery during the monster attack. The magician girl, overwhelmed by praise, struggled to hide her flushed face while Seti watched in silence. Their journey continued along the mountain path, the wagons creaking as they moved forward. Introducing herself formally, Lunamria declared her goal to face the labyrinth during her monastic journey. Zophie introduced herself as an assassin, once employed by a shady company. Scarlet proudly declared her magical background, choosing the adventurer's path to grow stronger, despite many other offers. Sei revealed his role as a carrier, traveling with Lunamria, all headed toward the same destination. Lunamria saw their meeting as divine fate, suggesting they form a party with Sei at the center, though hesitant. Scarlet acknowledged Sei's skill, thanks to Zophie's quiet but firm support. Sei and Scarlet exchanged sarcastic jabs, their banter continuing as they rode in the wagon. Laughter echoed as the group traveled through the countryside, heading steadily toward their destination. Night fell as they arrived at a quiet town, its buildings glowing under the moonlight. Their excitement rose upon seeing the cozy log cottages waiting for them. Though the inns were pricey, the group agreed 2 garden cottages would be perfect for the night. A sturdy briefcase was offered as a quiet gesture, replacing the one broken during their last encounter. Gratitude filled her voice, cheeks tinged pink as she struggled to express everything left unsaid. He simply smiled, brushing it off with ease, claiming party members should always have each other's backs. Evening fell softly as they wished each other rest, voices gentle under the fading stars. Awkward item appeared, neither acknowledged it, silently agreeing to pretend it never existed. He tried to rationalize what he saw, convincing himself it wasn't worth dwelling on. Under the night sky, a quiet decision formed as he walked away in silence. Behind the door, she stood still, clutching the briefcase tightly. Under the moonlight, a large wooden tub is prepared in the garden, signaling a rare moment of rest. Hot water is carefully poured in, and flower petals scattered gently across the surface, adding a touch of calm. Sei sinks into the bath, fully embracing the comfort of a quiet cottage evening. He retrieves a bottle, pouring himself a drink, savoring the warmth both inside and out. A thought surfaces, perhaps he should invite Lunamria to share the experience. Doubt filled Seti's mind as he weighed the idea of inviting her, unsure if it would cross a line. Despite hesitation, Lunamria appeared, shyly covering herself as she stepped into view. He reassured her gently, urging her to relax, insisting friendship left no room for shame. His words grew sincere. He trusted her, offering his vulnerability without restraint. Moved by his honesty, she gazed up, ready to entrust him with her heart in return. Lunamilia's quiet voice revealed surprise, touched by how much trust ThicK had shown her. He savored the moment alone, sipping from his cup as thoughts settled in under the evening sky. A firm decision took shape. He would extend the invitation after all. While justifying his intent, he claimed concern for her well-being, denying any improper thoughts. Despite nerves, he approached the door, ready to speak her name beneath the moonlight. Sei froze as he neared the door, startled by the sound of Lunamilia's voice from inside. Curiosity stirred. He wondered if she was speaking to someone, or perhaps merely dreaming aloud. Drawing closer, he heard her softly whisper words of affection, unaware of his presence. Each phrase revealed her hidden feelings, admiration spilling out in her vulnerable state. Tears welled in Seti's eyes, overwhelmed by the sincerity she had never shown awake. Sei stood in silence, reflecting on the depth of the emotions he had just witnessed. Her sacred text came to mind. He realized she viewed him as the apostle who shields the saint. Though flattered, he felt undeserving, recognizing how cruel the world remained despite gentle moments. His self-worth faltered, haunted by doubts that he couldn't meet her ideal image. Determined, he vowed to grow stronger enough to protect what he held dear. While passing by, Ce overheard Lunamria's voice, unaware she was lost in an intense dream. Startled by the vivid words coming from her room, he tried to make sense of what he heard. Whispers and movements behind the door revealed her emotional unrest in sleep. Her expressions showed deep longing, her body tense as if calling out to him in a trance. A surreal vision followed one filled with light, serenity, and a quiet offering of her emotions. Late at night, a girl wandered the quiet streets, calmly nibbling on bread under the stars. She caught Ce, leaving and asked casually, unaware of his tense mood. Overwhelmed, Ce claimed he needed to clear his head, choosing a crude excuse. Without flinching, the girl corrected him. There was no such place here. Ce and his companion arrive in a small town, only to find no entertainment suited to his interests. Frustrated, Ce imagines the long journey ahead, overwhelmed by thoughts he can't suppress. His companion inspects his discomfort playfully, teasing him as his condition worsens. She recalls a moment Ce once saved her, offering unexpected relief as thanks. Meanwhile, under the night sky, others move unnoticed, hinting at events beyond their encounter. In the quiet of night, two figures slipped into a secluded room. An intimate tension rose quickly. Emotions intensified as physical closeness broke remaining hesitation. The atmosphere turned heady. One gave in, fully overwhelmed by rising sensations. Their closeness deepened. Each passing moment left them more breathless, locked in a quiet, intense exchange. Outside, unaware passers-by walked the moonlit streets, while the secluded room echoed with muffled sounds and hushed breaths. After their private encounter, the girl playfully teased him, clearly amused by the outcome. She firmly clarified that this act wasn't casual for her, only a way to repay a personal debt from earlier in the day. Experience, she claimed, came from dealings in her previous life. Ce, now pensive, reflected on her story and the harsh truths behind it. Trying to change the subject, he shifted the conversation to something practical, proposing a deal involving potions and money. He stressed the importance of potions in survival, offering some in exchange for a personal favor. Flustered, he clarified his request, clumsily seeking help in future danger, though his phrasing betrayed his real thoughts. The girl accepted, negotiating further with a calm demand for her lodging costs. They agreed quickly, and under the moonlit sky, she led him toward her nearby room. With deliberate calm, she undressed, while Ce followed, trying to mask his growing anticipation. Ce prepared himself for what was coming, though he knew this deal wouldn't be simple. Questioned him about a suspiciously familiar object, implying it might have been modeled after him. She reminded him of her preferences, noting the town's limitations. As she began to disrobe, Ce was caught off guard by her confidence and silent invitation. Rather than argue, he offered to express his feelings, physically making his intentions very clear without another word. The condition was strict: she had to satisfy her partner, or the agreement would be void. After a sudden push, she sat up, hiding her expression as her partner observed her calmly. She declared her intent to take all the potions, confident she could meet the demand completely. He noted her readiness, surprised by how quickly she responded without any build-up. As their bodies moved together, he realized she was far more intense than expected. Inside a quiet building at night, two figures engaged closely, their bodies pressed together in a moment of intense connection. The woman revealed a rare magical ability, one that used mana to control her body in refined ways. As energy circulated, her senses heightened, the shared experience deepened, linking them in both feeling and rhythm. He acknowledged her precision, planning his next move with a knowing smile. Their pacing shifted. She reacted with growing intensity. Their shared momentum reached a powerful high, leaving her breathless from the intensity and depth of the exchange. He stood proud, unaffected by fatigue, his composure boosted by innate recovery abilities that set him apart from others. Without pause, he suggested continuing, surprising her with how quickly his strength returned. A bold claim arose: he sought to fulfill every condition in one night, driven by confidence. Outside, the moon cast its quiet light as exhaustion finally overtook her. Morning light broke across distant hills as the group neared their destination. Through the towering gates, waves of travelers streamed into the bustling city ahead. After a long journey, Ce and his party arrived at Lothos, a city teeming with fellow adventurers. He remained composed, while the girl beside him, still recovering, questioned how he endured so easily. With a knowing smile, she warned him not to underestimate her next time. Lunamria scanned the streets, noting how many capable adventurers roamed the city. She admired the potential of the dungeon town, recognizing opportunity in forming the right connections. Curiosity stirred as she observed Sepe, growing close to one of their companions, sparking speculation. A glance from the quiet girl left Lunamria flustered. Her suspicions met with unsettling silence. Sei casually suggested a break for food, momentarily dissolving the tension in her chest. The group walked through the city as Seiki reflected on the structured ranking system that governed adventurers. Progress demanded commitment, long years, bold feats, and constant contributions to the guild. In Lothos, however, promotion paths were clear: defeat designated monsters, and rise in rank swiftly. Among countless challengers, each member of Seiki's party held firm resolve to prove their worth. With unwavering eyes, Sei declared his goal to earn freedom through strength and claim the bronze rank. The receptionist gave Sei a teasing look as she noticed the girls accompanying him, playfully commenting on his popularity despite his youth. Unbothered, Sei requested the registration of the two girls as adventurers, formally completing their entry into the guild system. With clear intentions, Sei also requested specific dungeon intel and offered a silver coin, showing he was prepared to pay for reliable data. Amused, the receptionist warned him not to overcommit his money too quickly, hinting at costlier secrets behind her smile. She revealed that crucial enemy weaknesses, like those of domain lords, weren't found in standard archives. The receptionist leaned closer, remarking on Sei's lack of basic knowledge, yet proceeded to begin the registration of his companions. Later, Sei and one of the girls made their way through the guild hall, eventually arriving at a room filled with records and maps. Inside the archive room, rows of tightly packed shelves lined the walls, holding valuable information for adventurers seeking survival. Sei received a dungeon map showing monster distribution, though was warned not to damage or remove it from the room. With her hand tracing the map, she explained the Lotus dungeon's immense size flat in form, but its full scale still a mystery. The landscape of the Lotus dungeon resembled a bright canyon despite lacking sunlight, mimicking surface conditions with an artificial sky. To minimize danger during rest, adventurers had long maintained designated safe zones by using holy water to ward off monsters. Sei noted that the map was split into 6 distinct parts, revealing a strategic structure beneath the dungeon's vastness. Those segments represented domains controlled by 5 powerful lords, along with one reserved for the dungeon's master. To confront the dungeon lord, Sei learned he must first form a party and overcome every domain guard through successive trials. While studying the documents, Sei was surprised to learn that the domain guards were already high-level threats, and the dungeon lord stood at level 38. The receptionist confirmed the danger, explaining the fatality rate had spiked recently due to powerful monsters and overwhelming ambushes within the dungeon. Encounters with domain lords relied on luck, and their defeat caused a 10-day disappearance, requiring adventurers to monitor bulletin updates. The recent strength surge in monsters stemmed from repeated deaths, creating a feedback loop of escalating difficulty and power. Sei reflected on the chaos, tracing it back to misleading information and reckless adventurers that triggered a chain of catastrophic losses. The receptionist suggested transferring to a different region for easier promotion, but Sei, intrigued by the challenge, firmly declined. While reviewing the bulletin board, he declared his goal to reach bronze rank quickly, confident it wouldn't pose a problem. Outside the guild, daily life continued peacefully, unaware of Sei's determination to rise within the dungeon's perilous environment. Moments later, the two girls returned, proudly showing off their wooden adventurer badges, marking their official status as newcomers. Gathered together, the group prepared to register as a party, with Sei now facing the question of choosing their team's name. Excitement lit up the girls' faces as they leaned in, full of energy while imagining potential names for their new party. Name suggestions flew around, each more animated than the last, while Sei and Scarlet observed the chaos with quiet amusement. When asked for her opinion, Scarlet dismissed the topic entirely, showing no interest in naming conventions or group titles. Eventually, Sei gave his answer: carrier. Though met with complaints, the decision was made, and the team accepted it reluctantly. Moments later, the group arrived at the combat exam site, officially registered under the unexpected yet symbolic name Party Carrier. The exam arena stood wide and silent, with rows of seats beginning to fill as curious onlookers gathered for the spectacle. Scarlet noticed a group of shady spectators, prompting the instructor to casually explain they were just regulars with free time. But Sei had already assessed them, betting on outcomes and judging participants' strength based on appearances and rumors. Unconcerned, Sei decided not to reveal his full power. He had no intention of using his trump card for this event. Their escort called out to the examiner, signaling that Sei and his party had arrived and were ready for the challenge ahead. Sei was surprised to find the burly man wasn't the examiner. Instead, a quiet figure nearby munched snacks without urgency. The actual examiner, round-faced and cheerful, acknowledged them with an enthusiastic hum, catching C off guard with his demeanor. Standing before them, the examiner explained the rules simple and flexible. His only condition was to see their true combat capabilities. With a confident hand gesture, he challenged anyone ready to demonstrate their strength to face him directly. Without hesitation, the priestess stepped forward eagerly, declaring herself first and proudly introducing her reason for adventuring a pilgrimage. The examiner confirmed Lunamria's level and holy energy abilities, sparking confusion in CI, who struggled to follow the technical discussion. Confident in her strength, Lunamria took her stance with a large bat-like weapon in hand, determined and full of energy. As she launched forward, her powerful strike echoed strong enough to bring down a massive centipede during a previous battle. Though her swing wasn't fully enhanced, the force behind it was still immense, radiating magical pressure from the glowing weapon. Watching from his seat, Sei admired her strength but couldn't help wondering if the examiner would be able to endure the hit. The examiner welcomed the attack, calmly acknowledging the surge of magical pressure building from Lunamria's strike. In the next moment, a massive explosion engulfed the arena, the force of her assault sending shockwaves through the entire Colosseum. A girl raised her glowing weapon, preparing for a swift attack. Her eyes stayed fixed on the smug man standing ahead. The swing tore through the air with explosive force, carving the ground. Her target remained unmoved, narrowly avoiding the strike. Flames and dust followed in the attack's wake. Shockwaves rolled through the area, making nearby onlookers stumble back. One girl screamed, shielding herself. Without pause, she launched a rapid follow-up. Her cloak flew behind her as she charged. Yet her opponent weaved through every motion effortlessly. Breathing hard, she shouted and swung again. Her movements, though strong, were predictable. An immense explosion tore through the arena, shaking the entire Colosseum. Spectators reeled from the shockwave, expressions frozen in disbelief. In the aftermath, dust settled to reveal a man standing atop shattered stone. With calm authority, he ended the clash, his voice cutting through the tension. Gasps and wide eyes followed. The onlookers couldn't believe the sudden halt. Confusion spread as the overwhelming display concluded so abruptly. Turning to the girl, the man asked if she could still continue. His gaze remained sharp and unreadable. Breathless, she admitted her inexperience. It was only her second time wielding the weapon, despite her history with holy magic. The examiner frowned, noting her potential, but criticizing her lack of combat experience. With a heavy heart, the girl received her evaluation. Her effort wasn't enough. Rejected. She trembled, while her companions reacted with shock and frustration. Sei acknowledged her ability but reminded her that talent alone didn't matter without performance in real combat. Despite her disappointment, Sei encouraged her with a smile. She admitted her own doubts, but he praised her effort and urged her to try again. While repairs began on the ruined exam grounds, Sei remained optimistic. He believed that with training, her power would grow. One day, she'd become a valuable ally. Sophie stepped forward confidently, declaring it was her turn. The examiner welcomed the challenge, curious to see her abilities in action. In an instant, she vanished from sight. Her companions watched in shock, realizing she was using a stealth technique to erase her presence. From behind she appeared with a blade drawn, ready to strike. The examiner remained calm, immediately recognizing her as an assassin-type fighter. Her attack was blocked with ease. In the open arena, her concealment failed. She admitted her misstep as the examiner countered effortlessly. Embarrassed, she explained she had no weapons left, her former comrades had taken them. Sophie was dismissed after failing her exam. The instructor advised her to come better prepared with proper weapons and tactics for next time. Scarlet stepped up next, her expression calm and composed. Known as the top graduate of the Royal Magic School, she drew attention immediately. Confident in her ability, she warned her opponent not to complain if he got injured. Magic surged around Scarlet as she unleashed a powerful spell. The force of her casting stirred the air, causing the onlookers to react in awe. From afar took notice of the escalating power. The examiner narrowed his eyes, watching closely as her magic began to shift the atmosphere. Scarlet began channeling her magic. Her control praised by the examiner, power surged as she prepared her signature attack. Raising her staff, she summoned a massive fireball. Her stance remained steady, eyes focused, flames twisting above her. Without hesitation, she launched the blazing sphere forward. The firestorm roared as it surged across the field, drawing gasps from the crowd. The sheer size of the spell stunned everyone. Spectators believed the examiner wouldn't survive its impact. No one expected such overwhelming force. With a confident glare, Scarlet declared there was no escape. Her flames bore down, cutting off all paths with crushing heat. The examiner swiftly countered Scarlet's massive fireball with a single fluid strike, cutting through the flames. Onlookers gasped in disbelief. Sei calmly observed the technique. With precise timing, the examiner barely grazed each fireball, using magic to shift their momentum without destroying them directly. A chain of explosions erupted around him, yet he remained unscathed. The crowd couldn't believe he deflected all attacks with a single move. As one final fireball descended from above, the examiner raised his weapon once more, undeterred. His stance remained firm. The blast shook the field, but Scarlet stood stunned. Her spell had failed. The examiner praised her magical skill, despite the overwhelming result. Examiner praised Scarlet's performance. Her control, strategy, and courage had all met high expectations. Without hesitation, she was declared as having passed. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Her teammates celebrated with admiration, while others muttered in disbelief at her strength during what was supposed to be a basic exam. Sei watched quietly as the excitement died down. Now it was his turn, and all eyes had shifted to him. He stepped forward. The examiner noted his class carrier. Surprise flickered in his expression. Spectators scoffed. They dismissed Sei as just a luggage boy, unfit for real combat. While others laughed, Sei stood firm. He corrected their assumptions without hesitation. The examiner and his teammates were taken aback by his calm response. Even the examiner admitted surprise. For someone of Sei's caliber to be a carrier was completely unexpected. Sei stood in silence, tightening his gloves and drawing his blade with measured calm. The weight of judgment filled the room as he readied himself before an observing crowd. Mockery rose from the onlookers. Laughter echoed, dismissing Sei as a mere porter pretending to be a warrior. As his blade glowed with mana, astonishment spread. Sei's control was flawless. Unlike typical porters, he performed advanced reinforcement magic with minimal effort, leaving even seasoned observers in awe. With his task complete, Sei looked to the evaluators. Calmly, he questioned whether his demonstration had met their expectations, undisturbed by the earlier ridicule. A more experienced warrior stepped forward. Acknowledging Sei's refined mana manipulation, the duel began as Sei faced his opponent with unwavering posture. With blades crossed in challenge, the other man issued the signal to begin. Spectators gathered quickly, murmuring with curiosity. Although Sei preferred to keep his strength hidden, the swelling crowd left him no choice but to fight seriously. Sparks erupted the moment their weapons clashed. Sei's sword, reinforced with mana, struck with precision and force, shaking the arena floor. His opponent stumbled, barely able to parry the flurry of blows. Sei maintained pressure, without pause. While the crowd looked on, he adjusted his stance fluidly, each movement deliberate as the duel intensified. Slashing from behind, the opponent aimed for a clean hit, but Sei twisted mid-motion, neutralizing the strike with refined ease. Seizing the momentum, Sei stepped in with speed, blades clashing once more in a sharp burst of sparks. With narrowed focus, he launched himself straight ahead, eyes locked onto his target while pressure built between them. His opponent raised his weapon, but Sei's footwork outpaced the reaction, pushing through the defense with relentless force. Closing the gap, Sei struck with precision, breaking the enemy's stance and forcing a retreat across the floor. Sei delivered a swift blow, striking with precision, yet his opponent caught the rhythm and began reading his movements. Despite landing a forceful kick, Sei's opponent absorbed the hit with surprising calm, barely flinching as he acknowledged the effort. Raising his sword casually, the man reminded Sei that he had yet to show his full strength. A challenge to fight without restraint followed. Analyzing closely, he pointed out the momentary hesitation in Sei's hand, exposing the flaw hidden beneath his sharp offense. He criticized the imbalance in Sei's stance and rhythm, claiming the erratic flow betrayed a lack of conviction in his next move. As the duel raged on, the examiner observed Sei's footwork and approach, recognizing the layers of tactics in motion, calling him out. The man directly challenged Sei to reveal his full intent if his aim was truly to defeat him. The match had drawn attention. Spectators whispered in awe as the prolonged exchange hinted at a deeper test, not just skill. Mid-clash, the examiner commented on the grace in Sei's movements, suggesting a background tied to nobility or formal training. He identified the sword as a rare artifact of noble origin, noting its craftsmanship and expense, with surprising familiarity. The examiner raised a new question, speculating about Sei's origins and how a noble's weapon came into the hands of a mere carrier. Without answering, Sei shifted tactics. A sudden flick of his hand caused his sword to vanish mid-motion, stunning his opponent. In one fluid movement, he reappeared at close range, aiming a deceptive blow that nearly bypassed the examiner's guard. Spectators gasped. Confusion spread as the blade seemed to disappear from one hand and reappear in the other, with lightning speed. Tension thickened. Realizing retreat wasn't an option, Seri embraced the killing intent behind his next move, knowing hesitation would lead to defeat. With a composed smile, the examiner officially declared CI had passed, the test was over, and victory was his. Cheers erupted from the audience. Those who once doubted him now watched in stunned silence and admiration. Acknowledging his mistake, the examiner admitted that Seri's power far exceeded expectations. The match hadn't gone as he imagined. Despite his calm appearance, the examiner confessed he had struggled internally to keep pace, his nerves hidden behind practiced composure. As they parted, Seiei offered quiet respect. He assured the man that his secrets were safe, preferring silence over unnecessary curiosity. Before parting ways, the examiner offered Seiei one final lesson, a secret born from years of experience, not status. He explained that true strength came not from weapons, but from understanding. Reading breath, posture, and rhythm was the path to dominance. Those who master perception and intent can wield anything as a weapon. Even the limitations of class become meaningless with such skill. With perfect timing, Sei arrived as the labyrinth of Lothos faced an unknown threat, a challenge waiting for someone like him. The crowd watched him leave, a former carrier named Sei, now recognized as someone worth remembering. Sei earned recognition after passing the exam, met with cheers and admiration. A young priestess expressed heartfelt excitement, her eyes shining with pride. Nearby, another girl proudly shared her own success, while a companion admitted to falling short. With a calm gaze, the priestess assured Sassy of her unwavering support. She promised to remain by his side as he matured into a capable adventurer. Emotion welled up in her eyes, overwhelmed by admiration. Blushing furiously, she hid her face, unable to contain her feelings. While the others reacted with surprise, in his eyes, he was nothing more than a simple carrier, ordinary and unremarkable. Lunamria smiled with a light-hearted expression, playfully brushing off the situation. Sei shifted the tone, speaking calmly as he acknowledged their roles as fellow adventurers. Together, they stood in quiet understanding, ready to move forward. With a soft grin, Sei addressed her more personally, choosing to call her by her name, Lunamria. Flustered, she objected to the familiarity and insisted on maintaining honorifics. Blushing, she countered his words by offering a name of her own, Luna. Smiling, Seiji accepted her request and suggested they work well together. Using the name she preferred, he called her Luna, marking the start of a warmer bond. Inside the guild, chatter filled the air as a dark-haired woman took notice of the murmurs. As the group entered the hall, all eyes turned toward them. The overwhelming attention surprised one of them, while another welcomed the spotlight with pride. With confident posture, the woman credited her standout performance in the exam for the buzz. Crowds quickly surrounded them with eager offers and wild compliments. Each party tried to recruit them, drawn in by beauty and reputation alike. Breaking through the commotion, a calm voice asked the crowd to back off. Her firm but composed presence restored some space around the overwhelmed group. Seisei sat surrounded by 3 women, each pressing close as a show of allegiance. One of them declared their loyalty openly, offering to team up under Sei's lead. With a smug expression, Seiji clarified the conditions: he would only cooperate with those who agreed to keep their distance from his companions. The group's closeness drew attention again, but they remained physically unbothered. One woman protested being labeled a wife. Seiji calmly explained it was simply a tactic to deter unwanted attention. Another member exposed the intentions of nearby parties. She saw through the shallow offers, realizing many sought them not for skill, but for exploitation. A shadowed figure observed the group's discussion from afar, quietly impressed by their situational awareness. Moments later, a new group approached with confident strides. Their leader addressed Seti directly, assuming his position as head of the carrier party, and proposed an alliance. Seti expressed surprise at being recognized so easily, unsure if his role gave off the right impression. The opposing party claimed to be seasoned adventurers, emphasizing the value of a strong carrier for dungeon expeditions. Sei listened, intrigued but cautious. Introductions followed, with Rock naming himself as the leader of the inquiry party. Sai responded in kind, subtly evaluating their experience and intent. Rock stood confidently before illustrations of defeated foes. His team had vanquished 4 domain guards, a giant crab, a ferocious eagle, an arcane goat, and a leopard newt. Astonished by their track record, Luna and the others questioned why the final guardian hadn't been dealt with, noting the dungeon lord would be next. Rock explained that the vastness of the dungeon and the mobility of its guardians made tracking them extremely difficult, often relying on luck and thorough preparation. He revealed that despite detailed planning, they had suffered casualties during previous battles. By minimizing wasted effort and maximizing preparation, Rock's party had strengthened their efficiency. Rock acknowledged Cesar's surprising strength, impressed by his unexpected combat ability despite his role as a carrier. Admitting the truth, Rock revealed that no one had expected Sei to succeed, himself included. Sei accepted the honesty with calm indifference. Grateful for the shared knowledge, Sei expressed confidence in what he'd learned. He recognized the value of partnering with veterans as their party advanced. Their conversation ended with a handshake, sealing a cooperative alliance between the two groups with mutual respect and optimism. As night fell over the quiet town, the team returned to their inn, preparing themselves for the days ahead. In the quiet of their room, one of the girls questioned whether they could trust Rock's team. Lying back on the bed, admitted he trusted them the least. He explained that emotionless people were the hardest to read and thus the most dangerous. He emphasized that dungeons were merciless, shaped by the hearts of those who entered. In such a place, the only reliable protection was one's own weapon. Recalling their gear, Sari examined a set of sleek black iron blades, crafted for both range and melee combat. He handed them over confidently, instructing her to fight with them from tomorrow onward, tools forged to match their survival. With a swift motion, the girl tested the newly gifted blades, sending them flying toward the training target. Each throw hit its mark, sharp and precise. Impressed by her form, Sei caught her mid-air without effort. She landed lightly, eyes wide at his reflexes. A smirk formed on her face as she praised his strength, half teasing, half serious, clearly enjoying the moment between them. Sei responded with modesty, admitting he still had a long way to go to be fully reliable. Her retort came quickly, calling him weak, but smiling. In a more intimate turn, she leaned in close. Teasing words followed as her hands traced over him, shifting the mood from banter to quiet tension. Seizi made a bold demand in jest, while the girl blushed and responded with a teasing glare. Their exchange laced with tension but mutual trust. Elsewhere, Rock sat in silence, writing something in secret. His calm expression masked his intentions as he worked alone under dim light. Morning arrived. The group prepared to depart, their resolve visible, as they stepped outside with a clear goal. Together, they arrived at the massive dungeon entrance, ready to begin their first real expedition. Excitement swelled as Sei stood at the foot of the Grand Lotus dungeon gate. Inside the massive archway, the crowd pushed forward, voices echoing beneath the stone ceiling. Sei's team moved with purpose, eyes fixed ahead. Not long after, another party appeared, fellow carriers prepared for the same mission. Calm and punctual, Sei exchanged glances with them. A girl stepped forward nervously. Introducing herself as Lily, she revealed her new role under the inquiry party. Though smaller than the rest, Lily stood tall with determination. Her resolve, quiet but firm, marked the start of her first real dungeon challenge. Carriers were expected to stay behind the front lines, shielded from danger. With a team of inexperienced members, Sei decided otherwise and chose to lead. A plan was formed. Lily would manage supplies and daily needs, while Seppi handled combat logistics, maximizing flexibility during battle. Though risks remained, the leader remained confident. The team promised full support, believing Seppi's strength would guide them safely. As preparations wrapped up, Lily was entrusted with responsibility. Encouragement from her teammates steadied her nerves. Assured by Sei's calm smile, Lily's doubt faded. Hope quietly replaced fear as the mission drew near. The group gathered around the arranged goods as Lily presented the daily supplies. Nearby, laborers loaded additional crates onto the wagon. A checklist was handed over, and Lily calmly verified every item. Though used to the task, she admitted the work was still tiring and never easy. With a composed breath, she raised her hand and signaled her readiness. A curious glance followed her quiet resolve. A soft hum filled the air. Glowing light surrounded the supplies. As Lily began her storage ritual, energy surged. Boxes vanished into magical space, leaving those watching stunned at her flawless execution. With deep focus, Lily channeled her power. Magic pulsed around the crates, reacting to her will as the storage process intensified. A sudden jolt struck her balance. Supplies clattered and shifted, and she winced, struggling to regain control over the container field. Glowing rift formed between the teams. Light surged upward as space itself warped from the spell's energy. Sweat poured down her face as Lily pushed herself harder. Hands clasped, she endured the force trying to resist her control. At last, it ended. Breathing heavily, she stood trembling but victorious, having contained everything flawlessly. Praise followed Lily's performance, with the group impressed by her 8 years of experience. Still, her capacity remained limited. Even with her effort, Lily knew she couldn't compare to Sebi's overwhelming storage power. A quiet realization settled in. Despite being basic, storage magic had become second nature to carriers. High-level mages, however, still struggled with volume and control. Seiki's skills transcended expectation. His mastery of magic and combat redefined what a carrier could be: swift, strategic, and deadly. Suspicion grew, questions arose about Seiri's past, and the battles that had shaped someone so exceptional. Seiri was called to take his turn, but he calmly revealed the task was already complete. The others paused in surprise. He had acted early, storing everything alongside Lily. Though unexpected, his confidence left no room for doubt. With a sly grin, he presented the inventory list, ready to retrieve any item on demand as proof of his precision. Trust replaced procedure. The leader smiled, deciding that verification wasn't needed with someone like Seiri. Without delay, the party descended into the dungeon, their preparation finally complete and resolve firmly set. Seiri overlooked the vast ruins of the Lotus dungeon, its layered stone pathways sprawling like a forgotten maze beneath the sky. The team soon arrived at the entrance, each member awestruck by the scale and openness of the terrain. Remarks filled the air. Unlike the previous undead dungeon, this one resembled the surface, bright and vast, despite the absence of sunlight. A compass was checked, and a map unrolled. Their guide reviewed the layout, preparing for the journey ahead. The plan was clear: move quickly, and reach the next safe zone before nightfall set in. Before setting off, the group received a briefing on the fan eagles. Though their magic was weak, their claws could pierce armor, making them a serious threat. Combat wasn't the goal, reaching the safe zone was. The team moved with focus, staying close together under clear instructions. They advanced quickly, navigating the ruins. Awareness remained high as the environment shifted between crumbling halls and narrow paths. Speed increased as tension rose. Their guide led firmly while others kept pace, alert to any signs of pursuit. A monster patrol had spotted them. Sei suggested pushing harder to shake them off. Sei requested that his companions take the lead in the upcoming fight, using the opportunity to gain battle experience. The support team agreed to monitor the situation, ready to assist if things went wrong. With quick coordination, Sei called out commands as the group sprang into action. Scarlet was told to hold back while the others advanced. As monsters charged in, Sa stepped forward calmly, prepared to confront the threat directly if needed. Goblins burst from the woods, snarling with wild aggression. A confident warrior leapt forward, shield raised and eyes sharp, ready to meet the threat head-on. Paralyzed, Lily stared in disbelief. The sudden rush of enemies shattered her composure, panic rising in her chest. Nearby, a calm strategist assessed the situation. 8 small humanoids, typical goblins. To her, it was the perfect setup for novice training. Despite encouragement, Lily's hands trembled. Each shaky breath betrayed her fear, the pressure of expectations weighing heavily on her. Memories clawed back. Her former allies, torn apart by monsters, still haunted her. 3 parties lost, each one ending in tragedy. A brief exchange acknowledged the truth: carriers weren't built for battle. Most accepted it as a given and moved on without complaint. But Sade stood apart. Despite belonging to the weakest class, he refused to hide behind excuses. His resolve earned quiet recognition. With his shield raised, he blocked a heavy strike. Surrounded and outnumbered, he didn't falter, his stance firm in the chaos. In one swift motion, Sei launched his shield forward. The force sent goblins flying, scattering their front line. From the shadows, larger threats stirred. New foes stepped forward, and Sei prepared to face them next. A goblin lunged from the side, blade raised. Sadie reacted instantly, countering with a sharp swing of his shield. As a larger goblin charged, he dropped low, using the momentum to send the beast flying. His movements were precise, unhesitating. Nearby, Luna gripped her glowing bat tightly. With a steady breath, she gathered her strength, lightning coursing through the weapon. In one motion, she unleashed a devastating swing. The impact echoed, sending her target crashing into the distance. From behind, Sei advised her to manage her magic. She smiled, acknowledging his command with confidence. Sei delivered a powerful blow, his blade slamming into the goblin's gut and sending it crashing backward without mercy. Without pausing, he followed through with a downward strike, ending another attacker while Luna moved fluidly behind him. A goblin attempted a sneak attack, but Seki calmly deflected it, his eyes tracking the incoming projectile, now flying toward the next target. Across the field, a girl struck with surgical precision. Her throwing weapon pierced cleanly through 2 goblins, her expression calm and focused. Surrounded, she grinned ominously. Despite being outnumbered, her confidence never wavered. Knives flew from the girl's hands, striking 2 goblins before they could close in. Her precision left no room for counterattack. From behind, Seti praised her throw. She smiled faintly, proud of her improved aim and the weapon that now felt like an extension of herself. As goblins regrouped, Seti observed calmly. Their strength was low, making this an ideal opportunity to sharpen the team's real battle instincts. Moments later, the ground gave way beneath him. He landed inside a massive chamber, where a serpent's gaping maw awaited, towering above, the great blue serpent level 20, uncoiled. Sei tightened his grip, face steeled for the true battle ahead. Shock spread across the group as the massive serpent revealed itself. Luna gaped at its size, while Seiki confirmed its level far beyond expectations. Despite the threat, he remained focused. With sword in hand, he braced for the fight, noting they were lucky it was alone. Knowing the danger to his allies, Seidi decided to draw the serpent's attention. He dashed forward, positioning himself between the beast and the others. Meanwhile, another member sensed a new disturbance. A second threat, equally massive, approached rapidly through the forest. Panic rippled through the party, orders rang out, and everyone scattered as a colossal force crashed through the trees. Seiki kept the serpent focused on him, darting through the trees and hurling taunts. Each movement pulled it further from the others. Behind him, Scarlet hesitated. She wanted to assist, but was ordered to regroup west. Reluctantly, she followed the plan. With limited visibility in the forest, the leader proposed luring the monster into open plains. Large-scale magic would be more effective there. Meanwhile, Lily panicked, overwhelmed by the chaos. Their escort remained calm, prioritizing her safety above all else. As they ran, one message was clear: protecting their team came first, no matter the cost. With Lily in his arms, their ally kicked through goblins blocking their path, leaping clear of danger with ease. He landed softly, placing Lily down with care. Nearby, Sei tightened his grip, eyes focused as the battle escalated. Just as goblins rushed from one side, the serpent lunged from the other. Sei was forced to defend against both at once. Before he could recover, a beast slammed into him from behind. He flipped midair, spotting a mounted goblin commanding dark hounds. Surrounded by threats on all sides, Sei smirked. Popularity, it seemed, came with a price. Sei smirked, half in jest and half in frustration. The monsters wouldn't leave him alone, as if drawn to him unnaturally. Elsewhere, a strange lantern emitted a thick mist. Goblins wandered toward it, eyes glazed and movements dull. The scent overpowered them. Controlled without resistance, they approached the figure standing calmly in their midst. Within a cave, the lantern's user knelt beside Lily. She trembled, unsure of the intent behind his smile as he addressed her quietly. The warmth vanished in an instant. His smile twisted, and Lily froze as he warned her to stay silent. Lying amidst rubble and dust, the girl struggled to stay conscious. Her body was bruised, her breath shallow. Agonizing cries echoed through the room. From a pile of twisted remains, a voice screamed for help. She dragged herself closer, blood trailing behind. Tears ran down her cheeks as she begged for anyone to respond to the cries that haunted the silence. A lifeless head lay on the floor, severed and still. The screaming had stopped, only the sound of dripping blood remained. 2 monstrous figures held another captive. She watched helplessly as they ignored her cries. Her voice cracked as she pleaded, but no one came. The girl rushed forward, desperately trying to stop the beast. Her voice cracked as she called out for the others to wake up, but no one moved. Terror gripped her as the creature opened its maw. She struggled in its grasp, panic surging as she was drawn closer to its jaws. Nearby, another girl was pinned to the ground by horned beasts. She clawed at the floor, her limbs shaking as she resisted. One of the monsters snapped off a piece of armor, growling in excitement. Tears streamed down her face as she thrashed. Surrounded and restrained, she cried out for help, her pleas echoing through the stone chamber. Lifted upside down by monstrous hands, the girl flailed helplessly. The beast stared down at her with eerie calm. A man's face twisted in panic as he recalled her actions. He questioned her judgment, his voice shaking with disbelief and anger. The truth surfaced. To settle her father's debt, she had taken a job illegally, bypassing the Carrier Guild's strict rules. Sei, the gold-haired young man, reminded her how he had saved her life. He spoke with a smile, yet his words pressed heavy with control. Gripping her hand tightly, he warned her never to betray him. His tone softened, but the threat behind his words lingered in the air. Lowering her head, the girl hesitated as she was questioned. Embarrassment flushed her face as the subject turned toward her inexperience and rejection. With her hands tightly clasped, she muttered the reason. She believed no one saw her as a woman. Trembling, she exposed her chest under pressure. The boy named Sei laughed cruelly at the sight, mocking her body without restraint. As she tried to cover herself in shame, Sei stared coldly. He ordered her to stop, keeping full control of the moment. With a quiet smile, he made an offer, 5 gold coins. She stood frozen, unsure whether to feel insulted, scared, or both. A sharp-edged tool was presented, its design modified for perverse intent. The voice behind it hinted at twisted purposes. Bound and exposed, the girl lay helpless as hands closed in. Her captor described a future where she'd be sold to nobles with cruel appetites, used until broken. She was told her body held no real value. Even if she gave up everything, her worth would still amount to nothing. Other girls trained through the Carrier Guild were said to be far more valuable. Elsewhere, a new figure entered the battlefield. Calm and confident, he faced a swarm of monsters with a blade ready, smiling as chaos unfolded. A strange incense burned, crafted from monster corpse oil and rare additives. Its scent was said to grant benefits highly sought by adventurers. The rare item had been used as a down payment to purchase 3 girls. Its value alone showed the buyer's power and intent. Standing close behind Lily, Seiki revealed one disturbing detail: the monster repellent contained the sweat of a frightened virgin as a crucial ingredient. With a smirk, he mocked her rising value, twisting the meaning of worth into something cruel. Elsewhere, Seoi battled fiercely, unaware a trap had been set. A monster lure was placed on him, drawing countless beasts. Seoi warned that waiting would achieve nothing. He observed calmly from above, explaining that even strong fighters had limits and time would run out. With a mocking smile, he instructed her to run straight into danger. If Seoi saw her in trouble, he'd try to help, and that would get him killed. He delivered the final command. The scent wouldn't last, and if she wanted to live, she had to move quickly. Screaming in terror, the girl obeyed. She dashed ahead, consumed by panic and the weight of the trap closing around them both. Each step echoed her desperation. Survival came at the cost of dignity and peace. Their worth to the party felt negligible, just another burden in an already unforgiving world. As she ran, a monstrous serpent lunged forward, its jaws wide. Panic surged through her as its fangs nearly sank into her flesh. Thrown to the ground, she was quickly surrounded. Savage creatures closed in while wild beasts leapt past her, chaos erupting all around. Sobbing, she called out for Seppi. Fear overwhelmed her. In that moment, she recognized her own helplessness. This was what it meant to be a carrier. Then, through fire and ash, someone broke through the fray. A powerful figure lifted her into his arms. With calm strength, he declared his presence. Surrounded by monsters, the man readied himself. Despite the odds, he stood tall, preparing to unleash a powerful counterattack. Surrounded by a horde of goblins, Seppi stood unfazed, calmly walking forward while chaos erupted around him. Without hesitation, he revealed 2 black spheres from within his coat, rare mithril balls, crafted through mage's smithing, glowing faintly in his grip. He smirked, knowing their power. The enchanted metal, when thrown, struck with force far beyond its size, heavier with magic, deadlier with precision. Though capable of immense destruction, Sei chose restraint. Using only a fraction of his magic, he prepared to demonstrate overwhelming strength through simple means. Standing between a captured ally and the enemy, he stepped forward. As panic spread among the goblins, he took aim calm and assured. Sei hurled the mithril ball with practiced force, the projectile slicing through the air like a streak of light. Goblins barely reacted before the ball surged into their midst. Their confident expressions shifted to panic at the looming impact. The ball pierced straight through the largest goblin's torso, its power lifting enemies into the air as if caught in a shockwave. Even as others lunged toward him, Sei remained composed. Around him, goblins were torn apart in the wake of his magic-infused strike. Nearby, the girl watched in disbelief. Sadie, calm and smiling, assured her silently that the battle was already over. Seimi moved effortlessly through the battlefield, cutting down goblins mid-air as his mithril ball crackled with stored energy in hand. He marveled at his precision, realizing that a single strike had eliminated 13 enemies at once. The result was undeniable. Confident, he advanced toward the remaining goblins, mocking their overwhelming numbers. With another ball ready, he dared them to come closer. A swift motion followed as he struck with sharp, clean movements. Bodies fell around him while he retrieved another projectile, unfazed by the charging horde. Seri calmly prepared for another throw, unfurling his stance with mechanical efficiency and absolute control. Sei advanced through the chaos, cutting through enemies while readying another mithril ball with cold precision and steady focus. Just before the thrown ball left his range, he activated his storage ability, retrieving it mid-air before the enemy could react. By repeating the technique from hidden angles, he created a relentless chain of strikes, building both offense and defense in perfect sync. The goblins fell helplessly as Sayri's rhythm continued. To the onlooker, it was a flawless and unprecedented style of combat. He stood surrounded by enemies, yet untouched, declaring the peak of the carrier's craft a secret technique taken to its limit. Despite heavy losses, more goblins appeared, led by dark-furred beasts. Their numbers showed no signs of thinning. Even with his precise attacks, Sadie realized the enemies were too durable. Their resilience began to shift the tide. Before the group could be overrun, a new warrior stepped in. Scarlet entered the battlefield, unleashing a wide destructive strike. Her arrival tore through the goblins with overwhelming force. Sayri smiled, now confident they wouldn't fall behind. Say resumed his stance, twin mithril balls in hand. With renewed focus, he prepared for the next phase of the fight. He exchanged words with a sharp-tongued ally who had returned unexpectedly. She had tracked monster movement using a scouting spell. Though she acknowledged his efforts, she urged caution. Sadie asked her not to kill the monsters if it could be helped. Just then, another girl arrived, wielding a massive weapon with surprising force. Her attack sent goblins flying as she smiled at Say with. Allies now at his side, Say regrouped. The team formed up as goblins surrounded them from all directions. Despite the fierce battle, none of the monsters had died. They were only wounded, something even his allies found unusual. It was no accident he'd held back just so Lunamria and Zoffy could grow stronger through real combat experience. Annoyance colored her expression, frustration bubbling beneath the surface, despite understanding his intention. Scarlet stepped up with urgency, rallying the group into formation. Wind magic would lift the enemies, others would finish the job. Energy surged through the team, weapons ready, hearts steady. They faced the incoming swarm with unified resolve, eyes wide. Lunamria savored the moment. Fighting side by side like this had once been nothing more than a distant dream. A sudden warning cut through the chaos. Aim for the eyes. Everyone responded in sync, striking with precision. Once blinded, the beast flailed helplessly. Confusion spread through its kind, unable to act without sight. High above, ropes tightened. A weak spot on the snake's massive body was exposed, one it couldn't defend. Without hesitation, a request for a weapon was answered. Coordination flowed seamlessly in the heat of battle. Together they moved not as random fighters, but companions. Roles didn't matter. Support, trust, and shared purpose held them as one. She remembered a dream once buried lost. After being labeled a mere carrier, her hopes quietly fading. Now surrounded by companions and resting after battle, she watched as peace briefly returned to their side. Their efforts had succeeded. A familiar face returned, and with it, calm reassurance that everything was finally in place. After a brutal battle, the priestess returned, her white robes drenched in black monster blood. Despite the gruesome stains, she reassured the group. The others discussed the blood, like seasoned adventurers, explaining its meaning while she remained silent. Closing her eyes, she began a sacred ritual. A glowing light formed around her as divine energy took shape. Wings of light spread wide as she cast a powerful purification spell. Feathers drifted down, illuminating the battlefield. Her companions stood motionless, awed by the radiant transformation happening before them. In a burst of sacred light, the blood vanished from her body. Her robes were cleansed, her form renewed. The group admired Luna's cleansing magic. Her garments sparkled like freshly laundered fabric. Nearby, another adventurer requested to be purified as well. Luna calmly accepted, granting him the same divine refreshment. Sai, standing to the side, admitted that the lingering scent of monsters on his clothes was bothering him. He casually asked for the purification too. As Luna cast her spell again, more people rushed forward, eager to feel the same refreshment. Wings spread, and light bathed the forest clearing. Later, a quiet figure clutched a robe passed to him. He acknowledged Segi's gesture and prepared for what lay ahead. To the speaker's surprise, the response was acceptance. A moment of tension dissolved into relief, and what could have been rejection turned into agreement. Burdened by a life of insignificance, the quiet boy recalled his role as a mere carrier, one always overlooked. Yet Sei, holding the same title, stood tall. His presence radiated certainty, and his role as party leader inspired those around him. Watching Sei stand alone amid shattered weapons, the boy found clarity. Strength, he realized, wasn't just in title, it was in conviction. Despite admiration, a painful truth surfaced. Their worlds were distant, and he now understood just how far apart their strength truly was. In the middle of their exchange, guards appeared, carrying a wounded man. Sei's attention snapped to them, his body stiffened in alarm. As the situation settled, tension lingered in the eyes of the warriors, silence spread, and distant hills framed the heavy atmosphere. A priestess stepped forward and calmly closed her eyes. With a serene prayer, radiant energy surged forth. Pain faded from their bodies. Warriors sat up, stunned, their wounds closing in moments as joy replaced despair. Watching the scene, Sei and his companions called her a saint. Yet, with a gentle smile, she humbly claimed to be just a priest. While healing continued, an explanation followed. The priestess shared how holy magic calls upon divine entities, beings who respond to prayers and carry out the miracle. Such power, she admitted, came with a cost. The magic drained her energy rapidly, but its results made the exhaustion worthwhile. In return for the blessings received, Sei requested valuable information from the rescued warriors. One of them agreed without hesitation. They explained their route, one typically uneventful, filled with familiar threats and wide roads offering safety from ambushes. But this time was different. The overwhelming number of monsters they encountered left even seasoned fighters shaken. The survivors recounted their frantic escape into the forest, only to be overwhelmed by a sudden swarm of dark hounds. Lurking deeper in the woods, they stumbled upon a massive entity, an ancient demon tree towering over the battlefield. Discussion turned strategic. The monster had perfectly mimicked the surrounding trees, making it nearly impossible to detect before striking. Identifying its type became key. They deduced it was a needle-leaf demon, resistant to blunt weapons. Valuable but rare, the creature posed both risk and reward. Plans formed quickly. With greater numbers and swords in hand, they would return at dawn. Profit and glory awaited those bold enough to try. As the parties prepared to part ways, the priestess apologized. Her healing had limits, and not everyone could be saved. Nearby, fallen warriors lay motionless, guilt weighed on her. As a veteran reminded her some losses were inevitable, anger flared. A survivor blamed the leadership for forcing others into an unwinnable fight. Still, orders had to be followed. The tension escalated. Weapons were drawn, and the priestess watched in shock as greed overtook grief. Without hesitation, the group began looting the dead. Coldly, one explained it was all in the contract. In this world, survival came with a price. What began as unity quickly unraveled. The priestess watched silently as greed overtook former allies, leaving behind only cold pragmatism. A harsh lesson followed. To survive the dungeon, one must abandon hesitation. Compassion, they warned, had no place in a world ruled by danger. That night, under a quiet moon, the adventurers reached the safe zone. Tents dotted the field as survivors prepared for brief peace. Sei praised the team's effort. Exhausted but relieved, the group set up camp and took a breath in the temporary calm. Despite safety in numbers, vigilance remained crucial. A lookout schedule was arranged. Each member assigned their turn to guard the night. Sei suggested the night watch would benefit Lunamria and Zoffi. Though nervous, both girls accepted the duty as part of their growth. Back in the tent, Zoffi groaned about the fatigue from walking all day. Still, Lunamria encouraged her to keep trying. A seasoned member warned them, the dungeon would only grow harsher. The road ahead wasn't going to be kind. With a smirk, she offered them a mysterious solution for stress relief. The girls stared, unsure whether to be curious or concerned. Elsewhere, Sadie sat quietly under the stars, breaking sticks as he thanked the night for its silence and their efforts. Lily approached Sadie with a humble offering of food, hoping to repay his kindness. She smiled, awkward but sincere. Under the moonlight they sat together. Lily expressed her thanks for being saved, while Sadie downplayed his role, mentioning a scolding he gave the others. Despite being the weakest, Lily survived thanks to Sadie. He reminded her that strength to escape was still her responsibility. Grateful, Lily hinted at returning the favor. Sari brushed it off, saying small talk didn't suit him. Yet tension rose. Misunderstanding her intent, Sari pushed too far, leaving Lily stunned and overwhelmed in silence. Lily lowered her eyes, overwhelmed by doubt. She felt ashamed of her own body, believing it lacked any worth. A wave of intense heat surprises the group as they arrive near a steaming mountain. Standing at a high ledge, she explains the warmth comes from geothermal energy beneath a nearby volcano. According to her, even the elevated zone remains cozy after sunset. They descend into a cavern where the ground radiates warmth. Despite the rising temperature, the cave's interior feels tolerable. Satisfied with the environment, the woman activates a magical seal, her expression sharp with intent. From a tiny pouch, a heavy object is pulled out. Its true weight shocks the girl, though Seti's storage abilities still far surpass its capacity. At the edge of the cave, Lunamria receives a task. She's instructed to throw a sealed object toward the cavern's center, and she quickly agrees. With surprising force, she hurls the object across the chamber. The others watch in awe, taken aback by her sheer strength. Upon landing, the object bursts open with a sharp hiss. A strong sulfuric odor fills the air, causing visible shock among the group. Scarlet steps forward, explaining the absence of groundwater due to volcanic activity. Despite that, she holds a confident expression. Raising her staff, she conjures a swirling torrent of water, leaving her companions in speechless amazement. Scarlet calmly controls the swirling orb of water, keeping it suspended with precise magical focus. Her stance remains firm on the stone floor. With a decisive motion, she launches the water forward. It crashes against the terrain, carving channels, while the others watch the unfolding transformation. Water spreads across the cavern floor, flowing into newly formed paths. Scarlet keeps her focus, guiding the process with practiced ease. The geothermal heat interacts with the channels, steadily warming the flowing water and adjusting the temperature as needed. After mixing in the sulfur-rich mud, Scarlet raises her hands triumphantly. Their handmade onsen is complete. Steam gently rises from the newly formed onsen, catching the girls completely off guard. They marvel at the thought of such a luxury deep inside a dungeon. The magic stone powering the system cracks under strain. Despite the breakage, Scarlet remains unfazed, revealing she brought a spare. Excitement builds as the trio races toward the water. Their exhaustion fades, replaced with laughter and joy at the promise of relaxation. One of them, beaming with happiness, suggests sharing the discovery with Sace. The others instantly reject the idea, shouting in exaggerated panic. Hidden behind the trees, Sei listens as the girls argue about keeping him away from the onsen. Suspicion rises, though his expression remains unreadable. Back inside, the girls begin preparing for the next step. Determination fills the air as they ready themselves for what comes next. Elsewhere, a cloaked girl kneels before the young man, offering her loyalty. Though hesitant, she declares her willingness to act. Their faces draw close. The man's calm demeanor contrasts her nervous energy, but she doesn't pull away. He gives her orders to lay the carrier. In the meantime, he'll capture the others without harming a single one. With no strength or weapon to rely on, the young carrier admits his only option is his fragile body. Sweat drips down his face while determination builds inside him. Even if he is hated, doubted, or treated like a burden, he chooses to stay attached to the man he needs. On a stone platform by the water, the carrier kneels as the other man watches from above. Breath catches in his throat as pressure forces him into panic. His body trembles from discomfort and fear, yet he cannot break free or change the course of events. Without warning, a gigantic beast looms behind them, blocking the sky with its shape. The carrier's eyes widen as fear hits him harder than expected. He remembers the harsh slums he grew up in and believes he has seen enough to handle anything. His body stiffens as panic spreads through him, and the urge to run becomes overwhelming. Even monsters from his past never made him feel this cornered or helpless. Sei, the gold-haired young man, stands with calm control, wearing a sharp expression that feels dangerous. Staring up in shock, the carrier tries to resist mentally, refusing to be broken by tricks or forced weakness. Any tears or screams become useless, and he is left struggling as the situation grows even worse. The carrier regained awareness on the stone platform and stared ahead in confusion, realizing Sei was still standing nearby, watching him closely. Seti stood over the collapsed girl, her body motionless on the ground. The situation seemed suspicious, but he remained calm, taking in the scene with sharp focus. Bending down swiftly, he lifted her with practiced ease. One hand adjusted her cloak while the other kept her balanced, his eyes scanning their surroundings. A subtle twitch in her expression betrayed the truth she hadn't lost consciousness. Doubt turned to clarity. Sadie realized her fainting was intentional, designed to separate him from the group while something else unfolded elsewhere. The enemy was likely using this diversion to hunt the others, and he had little time to intervene. Seiki assessed the situation with a grim outlook. If misunderstood, his actions might bring suspicion upon him instead of praise for trying to help. He considered the possibility that Lily had been manipulated. Her inability to fight might have left her vulnerable to exploitation, emotionally and strategically. The thought weighed heavily on him. Had he stayed, perhaps he too would have become a pawn, controlled like a lifeless puppet. Suddenly, a cheerful voice interrupted his thoughts. A confident woman approached, her demeanor casual yet disarming. Anita introduced herself boldly, teasing him while flaunting her strength. Her presence hinted at unpredictable consequences. Sei glanced at Anita's toned form, her physique clearly that of a seasoned warrior. He acknowledged her strength without letting his guard down. While she spoke confidently about the safety of the area, Ceci remained skeptical. Her familiarity with the zone didn't eliminate the possibility of deception. She teased him lightly, casting suspicion on his intentions. Though her tone was playful, her words carried weight. Closing the distance, Anita leaned in suggestively. She subtly compared herself to the unconscious girl, undermining her with feigned innocence. Leaning closer, she offered herself in exchange for coin, masking ulterior motives beneath a seductive facade. Ceci questioned her connection to Rock. She confirmed it, casually revealing the crude impression Rock had shared about him. With practiced charm, she reached for him. Despite her boldness, she claimed discernment, insisting she only approached men she respected. Closing in, she spoke freely about her desires. Yet, beneath the teasing tone, her words hinted at manipulation and confidence. She made her move, but Ceci remained unfazed. With a grin, he delivered a line that broke the mood with mocking ease. Turning away, he dismissed her advance. His focus had already shifted. Rock was now his next target. Sadie dismissed blind obedience, stating he wouldn't follow divine orders without question. His tone remained calm, but his resolve was clear. Anita confronted him, challenging his defiance of so-called divine will. She framed their meeting as fate, suggesting his survival was thanks to divine favor. Philosophizing further, she warned of misery for those who resist fate. Her words implied the unconscious girl's suffering was punishment for straying. That girl lying still became the object of Anita's judgment. Her desire to be close to Sei was labeled pathetic and doomed. Despite her harsh words, Anita acknowledged Sebi's efforts. Though he held the weakest role, even she couldn't deny his strength. Anita spoke with pride, calling her body a divine blessing. She framed her strength as sacred, granted by the gods and undeserved by most. Elsewhere, a lesson loomed. Straying from divine will, one was warned, would lead only to suffering and punishment. The label carrier was thrown around with disdain, mocked as cursed and worthless. Anita echoed the sentiment, calling the meeting destiny's gift. Sei stepped in without hesitation. His tone turned cold as he challenged her beliefs, daring her to face reality over fate. Her smug expression faltered. For the first time, doubt flickered in her eyes. A girl entered the steamy chamber and embraced the warmth of the spring. Her relaxed smile showed she had left her worries at the entrance. Nearby, the others admired the atmosphere. The cavern's glow made the space feel luxurious, like a peaceful retreat hidden in the mountains. Scarlet, confident and cheerful, drew praise from her companions. She credited her magic to formal training, speaking with pride as she undressed. She assured the others of safety, having already used detection magic to confirm no monsters were near. While the others changed, Scarlet teased their reactions, her confidence fully on display. A moment of quiet tension settled as the girls exchanged glances. Their eyes narrowed, watching each other's movements with caution. One of them began undressing, her tone innocent but her actions bold. As she revealed more, reactions shifted from mild amusement to disbelief. Suddenly, cries rang out. A mishap with their supplies or clothing caused panic as steam filled the cavern deep within the nearby tunnel. Small creatures stirred. Their eyes gleamed in the dark as they advanced cautiously toward the disturbance. From the shadows, a massive root-covered beast awakened, twisting through the cave with a menacing growl. Steam drifted over the surface as the group arrived at the long-awaited onsen. Tension faded the moment they slipped into the soothing water. Finally able to relax after days of hardship, a loud realization from one member broke the silence. She had forgotten to bring anything to enhance the soak. Lying back, she confessed her entire magic bag was filled only with onsen powder. Disagreement flared quickly. One insisted the hot spring should remain their secret treasure, while another pushed for fairness, frustrated by the selfishness. Blushing quietly, the girl with straight bangs processed the declaration. If the onsen was truly for the party, Lunamria initiated the purification ritual, explaining it was necessary to cleanse Seisa's supposed sins. Nearby, the other women continued relaxing in the dungeon's hidden onsen. They marveled at how rare such a find was, especially with all ingredients prepared in advance. One of them admitted she had crafted the setup using materials scavenged directly from the dungeon. A sudden reaction in the water caught their attention. The ritual seemed to be taking effect, stirring curiosity among the group. Unseen by them, a masked group watched from a shadowed crevice. Their leader smirked, aware the scent they released was beginning to influence the scene. The silver-haired man offered a warning, suggesting the girl slow down. He reminded her she had used more magic than the others, and needed to avoid injuries. He revealed that her body held significant value to certain buyers, unsettling her with the weight of his implication. A smug grin followed as he confessed. He had secretly added a special perfume into the onsen mixture they used earlier. Boasting further, he revealed the onsen had met all activation conditions naturally thanks to her preparations and the others' presence. Rock's plan had worked perfectly, delivering them a prized product, praised as worth every coin by twisted nobles. The mastermind gave final instructions, warning his associate not to breathe too much of the perfume. One of the handlers opened a transport wrap, assuring the group that their courier team was well-trained and prepared for this type of job. They confirmed the process would repeat. All that mattered to them was that the merchandise remained unblemished during delivery, no matter the method. A box of restraints and tools was presented, chosen carefully to avoid lasting marks. Their rules were disturbingly calculated. Still, Rock reminded them, this request was different special. Even among criminals, limits were set if only temporarily. Lunamria, dazed but defiant, rose from the water. Her instincts kicked in as she called out to her allies, unaware of the danger closing in around her. Rock noticed her resistance and muttered a warning. He suspected the priest class might naturally counteract the perfume's effect, an unexpected complication. The thugs discussed her underestimated strength. Despite her frail appearance, she had the power to cause real damage if provoked. Unshaken, she invoked divine judgment. Her captors mocked her faith, promising cruelty while laughing at her boldness. Mocking Sadie's role as a mere carrier, they dismissed him as weak, confident she had no one capable of saving her. Lunamria froze as the captors mocked her. One casually joked that Sadie was occupied elsewhere. One of the men stepped too close, spewing insults about Sadie's worth. But before he could finish, Lunamria grabbed his arm and crushed it without hesitation. Her grip tightened as she demanded answers. Panic took over the man's face as pain overwhelmed him, her calm voice hiding dangerous resolve. Elsewhere, Sadie arrived just in time. Having overheard the insults, he stepped into view, his expression sharp and cold. With a confident smirk, he announced his presence. No longer just a carrier, Say stood tall, ready to fight back. At the critical moment, Say arrived, catching everyone off guard. His unexpected appearance stunned the hostile group, forcing them into silence. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, taking command of the situation. Confidence marked his expression as he motioned for the others to step back. As tempers flared, Say stayed composed. He brushed aside the provocations aimed at him and refused to be dragged into petty arguments. A girl lay unconscious, her body drenched in sweat. Seti stood over her quietly, while gasps echoed from the surrounding group. Leaning in, he acted swiftly and with precision. Shock swept through the onlookers as they tried to grasp what he was doing. Say's expression turned cold as he challenged the girl's beliefs, mocking her desperation and supposed divine fate. His presence overwhelmed her resistance. Without warning, he lunged forward, dragging her into chaos. The surroundings blurred as they both fell, consumed by their spiraling momentum. Grinning sharply, he mocked her plea. Though she resisted, her body was failing, and Say continued his advance with unwavering dominance. Striding confidently, he carried her limp form with ease. The crowd stood stunned, unable to grasp the brutality of his actions. As he walked away, silence followed. The others dared not intervene. Their gazes locked on Sadie's unshaken form and the defeated girl beneath him. Sadie stepped forward with cold intensity, confronting the man who had dared to harm his companions. Fear instantly overtook the attacker. From the shadows, a new group emerged, armed and alert. They formed a line of defense, prepared for a confrontation. Among them, a confident warrior issued commands while mocking Sadie's solo efforts. His casual tone contrasted sharply with the rising tension. With a smug expression, he taunted Sadie's urgency, questioning his motives. He assumed Sadie's arrival was nothing more than reckless impulse, blade drawn. The enemy declared Sadie's fate. Sealed, the threat was clear: no one would leave this place without bloodshed, mocked for his class. Say stood unfazed as his enemies were thrown back in a violent counter. With precise movements, he disarmed the attackers one by one. Panic spread as blades fell and blood spilled, closing the distance. He smiled coldly. His opponent realized too late that Sevi needed no backup to dominate the field.